Okay, you guys ready for some more Le Mans winning cars and 132 scale slot cars? We got a big grouping today. It's only 4 years. We did a decade at first, then we broke the 60s decade into two because the first six were Ferrari and the next four are GT40s. So we left off at the 1965 winner, which was a Ferrari 250 LM, and that's, like I showed you before, one of my favorite cars. Now we have for 4 straight years the Ford GT40s winning. And if you saw the movie Ford versus Ferrari, that's about the 1966 Le Mans. So Le Mans was won by Ford that year, and it was a big upset because Ferrari had swept 6 straight years. And then they went on to continue winning for another 4 years. They swept. And I have a lot of versions of these cars. So let's get looking at some of these cars. All right, so the first car I'm going to show you for the 1966 Le Mans overall winner is this beautiful package car by Fly car model out of Spain. And it's like a special edition version of the car dedicated to Bruce McLaren, the driver of the car that won that year. This is the car that won in 1966. And it has a nice display box. It has some information about Bruce McLaren and then all the races he raced in. And then if we look, you'll see here's the car and the driver figure. But if we look here under Le Mans 24 hours in 1966, it'll show that he won with co-driver Armand. And it says Shelby next to the Ford MK2, because Shelby was the key manufacturer and producer of that car. You know, if you watch the movie Ford versus Ferrari, Shelby was played by Matt Damon, and, it was a big thing to come in. Ferrari had just won 6 straight years, and they came in and they won in 66, and they won for 4 straight years. And that's what we're covering now. So this is the car itself. This is from Fly Car Model. It's a slot car. And it comes with this figure. It's pretty heavy. It's probably either die cast or maybe even pewter. It's very nicely decorated. It has a Ford and a Goodyear logo on the driver's suit. And let's take this out of the box to take a look. So this is the one I keep on the shelf. Like, I'm going to show you guys different versions of this car, but this is the one I keep on the shelf. And what I like is that I have a lot of different variety in this collection, different kinds of car, major car manufacturers represented in, major slot car manufacturers, and then all kinds of different packaging too. So this one goes on the shelf, standing up in the back, and it displays nice. So this is the car. Now what's interesting is, all the slot cars have a driver figure. This one doesn't because it comes with this guy here. So they did that, which is interesting. And it's very nicely detailed. So like I've said before, Fly Car Model came around in the late 90s, and they really upped the game as far as detailing of slot cars. And that's when I got into it, when I saw these Fly cars. And a lot of people got into it then too. They just were really stunning. So this looks as good as a die-cast car, but it has all the components to make it go around the track. It's got a Fly standard motor, a sidewinder gear, and a guide flag and braid, and then it's got tires. Usually we would replace these tires, but these feel pretty grippy. And so that's the first car I'm going to show you guys for the 1966 Le Mans winner, the one from Fly. All right, I'll put that off to the side. All right, next up we're going to look at this, which is a Scalextric. So these were very popular, and this is a limited edition, just like the other one. Let's see, the other one, let's just look real quick. A lot of these are limited editions. Yeah, if we look in here, it says number 1619. I'm not sure what the run is, but it's probably around 2000. This is a limited edition too. We'll see here on the bottom. This is a Scalextric car. It's a limited edition of 4000. And if you look at this number, C 2463A. The A on the back meant it was like a collector's edition or a limited edition, and a lot of times they made the same exact car without the A, and that was in like a regular, clear display case and stuff. So this one has a sleeve, and then let's take a look. It has a protective cover. Put these off to the side. And here's the second version of the car. It has a little history in there. I'm going to show in a little bit. The next set I'm going to talk about the race and the anomaly that happened at the end of the race. This car was not supposed to win the race. If you watch the movie Ford versus Ferrari, the main character played by Christian Bale was not in a black GT40. He was in the one with the Gulf livery. He was in this car, and I'll explain what happened there. So let's take this off the base. Comes with, it looks like an extra magnet and some extra guide flags. And then it has a screw here. I'll take this out. All right, so this one is very nicely done too. And, it's they're all going to be a little different. Does have etched metal part in there. Now this one has lights. Let's take a look at the car first and I'll show you the lights. Etched metal back here. Nicely detailed. This one does have the driver, right? This driver, I always felt, they use this driver a lot in a lot of different cars, even like the Martin VW Beetles, but I just felt the head was always a little bit big. But what I've got here is a 9-volt battery. And I was telling you guys before, you could test a car with a 9-volt battery. What I'll do is I'll pull these braid out a little bit and then contact it. Now, you have to have the right positivity to get the light to go on. So we can see it has yellow lights. Now, usually with these Scalextric cars, the limited edition one had white lights. The regular standard version had yellow lights. And then usually there'd be like a little etched metal plate that would go on here that would say that it was limited. So I don't see that here. But now, as far as LeMans goes, the cars do have different headlights, and that's for when they're coming up on another car. They could, at night, they could see by the lights, what kind of car it is. If it's, a GT car is going to be a lot slower than an LMP car. So, I think the LMP car have white lights, and the GT cars like this have yellow lights. So this is probably proper to have the yellow lights. Now, you can hear that gear. That sounds really, really rough. It needs oil and, it's probably, I don't know, something's out of whack. That does not sound good. But it's a shelf queen, I have another version of this that I raced. It was a red number 3, which is not a Le Mans winner. But once again, a very nice version of the car. Let's take a look underneath. It's got the Sidewinder with, just like the Fly. Looks like it has a, let's just say, a sport motor, maybe a little bit better motor, and then the guide flag. And they kept changing these guide flags over the years. So that's the Scalextric version. Now, next up, I have another Scalextric version, a 3-car set. This is a nice presentation box. 1966 Le Mans. Now, it says up here, 2003 Goodwood Festival of Speed. So that's like a real car festival in the UK.
This year, the festival has helped the Ford Motor Company celebrate its centenary with an immense sky-high display in front of Goodwood House, depicting the Ford Mark IIs that finished 1, 2, 3 at Le Mans in 1966. The actual trio of cars from that race were there too, and so was the great-grandson of Henry Ford I, Edsel Ford, who had his own memories of Le Mans.
I was there in 1966 with my father. He was the Grand Marshal at Le Mans that year, and I remember distinctly what it felt like to come in 1, 2, and 3, and it was wonderful.
They bring in all the old race cars, and they run up a racetrack. Like, I think it's like an uphill climb, and you could hear the cars and see the cars. So this might have been in dedication of when the cars were brought back. But these are representations of the cars that won Le Mans. And this is what's interesting about this is it's a dirty version. So I don't know if you could see the cars are not, are like as if they just finished the race. Now, I don't know how accurate the dirt is, but you could see like there's some extra soot and stuff on the car. You could really see it on the numbers and stuff. They call that rondelles, the rondelles. But this is a really nice version, a collector's version. This has a number of 10,000. So they're all limited, but I mean, that's not a real, that's not a small run, but I'll take that off. And this is the car from the movie that Ken Miles drove. And if we look at here, it says Miles and Hume drove this car here. And then the car that won, that we're really showing off right now, was driven by Amon and McLaren. And then this car here was driven by Bucknam and Hutchison. Now, I believe all the cars were made in America, all the parts, the motors, the chassis, and I believe all the drivers were American. And it was like the first all-American 1, 2, 3 finish. This was pretty cool here, how they have like the windshield part, like the dirt on the window. I like how they did that. They're doing that on all of them, but it seems to show up more there. Now, back here, I don't know if I could show this. There's some information about the race. And basically it's saying it won its greatest victory, the first, second, and third place at Le Mans, the world's longest, fastest, toughest 24-hour road race. Spectacular results for the World Championship that year, and guarantee the future commitment to the GT race car. And then they went on to win the next 4 years. So they had, dethroned Ferrari, who had won 6 straight years, and then they came in and they won 4 years. So now what's interesting is it says contentious race rules awarded Amon and McLaren the laurels, despite Miles and Hume crossing the finish line first, but nothing could reduce Ford's glory. So that's the story from the movie too, and it's a real part of the story, and it's really interesting. It was a great ending to the story. Was Ford at that point wanted all the cars to finish at the same time for photographic purposes and stuff, for promotion. This car started the race further back in the field, so when they line up, this was back so many meters back, and when the race ended, it was the longest distance that determined the winner.
If you look at the rules of the race, it is laid down that if there is a dead heat across the finishing line, the car that started farthest back on the starting line must have covered the greatest distance. 2 cars crossed the line together. Number 2 was farther back on the starting line than number 1. So number 2 has covered the greatest distance. So number 2 becomes the winner.
They rewarded it to this, and that was really bittersweet for Ken Miles, right? That was what the movie ending was about. So that was really a freaky thing. So, it's all part of racing history. Now, one of the things they say is win races on Sunday and then sell cars on Monday. So that, Ford was thinking about, selling cars and stuff. So that's a really nice one. I'm not going to take that off the base because it's the same exact one as the one I just showed, just not a, it's just a dirty version. All right, so next up we have from Slot.it. So Slot.it is a great manufacturer out of Italy. Slot.it is run by a man named Maurizio. He's very friendly. He comes around to America and participates in races. And the way Fly changed the slot car industry with those beautiful cars, Slot.it kept up that kind of level of detail and even went further, but then added something different, which was performance parts. Now, I remember my friend, we were in a club, Mike Liptak was like, there's this new car coming out, and it's going to have all these adjustable parts, aluminum parts with set screws. And I remember him talking about it, and that was Slot.it, and they really make a fantastic car. So this has a limited edition of 6,000. So they're all kind of limited, the ones I'm showing you, but like I said, not small runs. So it comes with a little display thing and has a little nice history here. Let's see what it says in here. They crossed the finish line together with car number 1, driven by Ken Miles and Dennis Hume, but were declared winners because they had started 20 meters behind the second car, hence covering a bigger distance during the 24 hours. Wow, that's pretty crazy. That must have been really tough for Ken Miles. So I'm going to try and get this off the base. It comes with a Allen wrench and some set screws. Put that aside. This is a really nice version of the car too. So, this is very nicely detailed. Now, one thing really sticks out is these gold wheels. I'll talk about that in a minute. But let's take a look at the car. Very nicely done. They're all pretty nice so far. Now, here's where Slot.it changed the game. These wheels are aluminum wheels. The other wheels on Fly and Scalextric cars at the time and Carrera cars are press-on plastic wheels. And a lot of times they're not straight. These wheels are perfectly straight. And what you could do is with that little Allen wrench and the set screw, you could take off the wheels, change them to different wheels, modify everything. This is the gear is a set screw gear. You could see right in there. You could change out that gear to different gear ratios. The motor, a very much better quality motor. It does have a magnet. These are all as they came from the manufacturer. Pretty good, deeper, better quality guide flag. You can see how nicely that snaps back into position when you deslots. You want that to come back to, to that position here. So you could add spring adjustments. So this is a really adjustable car. The key thing that makes these cars better than the Scalextric and the Fly and the Carrera is this motor pod. This motor pod, all the top cars seem to have a motor pod, and it lets you isolate the motor, and it helps with vibration. I'm not a tuning expert or a racing expert, but the other thing you could do is you could buy 3 different motor pods for this car. This is the sidewinder configuration. You could buy an angle winder, which is the same motor on a little angle, or an inline where the motor goes like this way. And you could just screw that out and change up the car. Use the same motor, you would change the gears. But, the motor pod seems to be, all the top cars seem to have motor pods. So it looks like this is a little dried out. I probably got to treat the tire with something. I was talking about the wheels. So all the cars don't have gold wheels. So I looked into this in the pictures, and it's proper. This is proper. Gold wheels, silver, knockoffs, I think they call that. It has red tow hooks like that. They did a really good job. Now, the one thing is all the other cars have like a little knob in there, like maybe some kind of shifter or something, and they don't even have that, so I don't know why. And then the backs of all these cars are different. Like I'm going to show you the NSR one next, and that has a lot of pipes and stuff, so I don't know why there's a big variance there. But when I looked at the pictures of a restored version of the car, the wheels were right here, and this back part was exactly like they're showing in the restored version. So this is probably the closest to the way the car was. Now, a thing I'm seeing here, but little decals on the window. Let me see. There was one other car that had that. Yeah, the Fly car had that. So, nice extra details in there. So they're all different. Like this one has a silver windshield wiper. This one has a black one, Okay. So that's the Slot.it one. And like I said, Slot.it changed the game with high quality details, but very good performance and adjustability. All right, here's the next one. And this is another Italian company, NSR. And these guys are known for winning races, and they're big races. A lot of people use their cars. And this is a 2-car set of the 66 and 67 winners. So we're going to get a preview of the next car that won Le Mans. So let's take a look inside of here. There's a beautiful display. And you see the number 2 car there, and then there's the car that won the next year. I'll be showing that soon. And there's some pictures of it. during the race, crossing the finishing lines. I don't know if you can see all that. And let's try and take this off the base. This one is a limited edition of $9.99. So this is the lowest limited edition. These cars are not cheap. They're a little more expensive than a Slot.it. But now with the prices going up, the Scalextric cars are almost as much as these Slot.it and close to the NSR. So this had a little screw, plastic screw that held it on. And here's NSR's version of the car. So interestingly, there's no gold wheels. And then another thing that's interesting is this little information in there. What does that say? 102. So now I don't know why that would have a 102 there. None of the other cars have that. But, you know, according to the box, it's the 1966 version of the winner. So once again, really nicely done. Etched metal parts. Everyone seemed to do the back and front grille in metal. Now it has the tow hooks, but they're not red. And I think that it's proper to be red. So why they didn't follow through with that. A good driver. Really interesting. They're showing a lot of going on with this driving column. And I bet that's more accurate than the other cars. So here, once again, so this is an older NSR car. They've gotten a lot more sophisticated, but it has what I was saying before. It has the motor pod, and it has the, it's a sidewinder configuration. It has the set screw gear you could change out, and have really good motors. They have really good motors. These all have magnets. These are shelf queens, so I have, if I was to race them, I would take out the magnet. This is one of their guides. So they're really known for performance parts and winning races. And you know what else, too? The best tires. Like, these are rubber tires, but, man, I can just feel how grippy they are. So we usually run silicone, but these could run and stick up with the keep up with the silicone. They're really good rubber tires. So this is the version from NSR. Very cool. Very good details. Very high performance. But like I said, missing some things. Like, I don't know how they missed those wheels not being gold. All right, I got one more special oddity here. So this one I picked up, I'm sure, off eBay. So what this is a Doulos Mitos car. And I believe it's a magazine. And you would get the magazine, and then there'd be, maybe 6 issues. And each issue would come with different parts. Like, one might be the motor and gears. One might be, the wheels and axles. One might be the body, the chassis, another one. So I bought this all together, but this is, it's showing right there. It's the LeMans winning car. Now, here's very interesting. SCX is the brand we know it as in America. But in Spain, they call it Scalextric. All right. It's different companies. They must be related in some kind of way. But, we know SCX. In Spain, it's called Scalextric. This Doulos Mitos, however you pronounce it, is definitely a Spanish and Spanish magazine. What I did was I put it in a generic SCX case. Did not come in this case. Like I said, it came in pieces with the magazine or some kind of booklet. Let me get it out of here. What this is an old Scalextric car. If we look at the bottom, it says C35. So that's a very low Scalextric number. They're up to 4,000 or something like that. I don't know if there are 4,000 cars, but that number is way high now. It does have an SCX motor, though. So this is like a reproduction of the old car that you could get when you were, racing these cars in probably the 60s and 70s. Now, it's a lot different. It is the GT40. All this is silver on the other cars. This piece is not in the other cars, so that's not exactly proper. And then the detail, like the wheels they are gold, there you go, but they have red knockoffs, and that's not exactly what they should be. In the next car, in 67, they'll have different color knockoffs for different reasons. But but you can see the detail is very primitive. This is an early car. So this would be the kind of cars you would get before Fly started really upping the ante and changing the detail of the cars. So people were happy with this. You know, it's obviously more toy-like. The wheels aren't that great. I really don't care for these motors too much. They fail a lot, and they seem like they need more power to run around the track. A very simple gear. It really feels tight. Let's see what the what did I do with that? Here was 9-volt battery. Let's see what this sounds like. I bet this sounds clunky too. A lot better than the Scalextric sound. Let's do this with all the cars. That's a good test. All right, so let's see what sounds the smoothest. So the NSR and the Slot.it cars are supposed to be right out of the box ready to race. So this is the Fly car. See, that sounds pretty smooth. You can see the difference, right? That sounds pretty good. And then I would do the Scalextrics, which is here. We did him already. He's clunky because we did the light test. Oof, that I would take that apart and probably change out that gear. All right, now let's slot it. Ah, hear that? You hear that difference with the gear, the mesh, the quality of everything? Big difference, right? And this is a good little test I just came up with. And then last, the probably the highest performing car, probably the best one out of the box, is the NSR. Yeah, even more refined, right? Very interesting. Let's look at the back. So now the backs are different. Each back has a different treatment. I'm thinking maybe there's like a plate that goes over, possibly in the real car, because this one's showing a lot of pipes and none of the others are. So I looked at some pictures on the internet, and it looks just like this. The other thing that's interesting is the Slot.it one is the only one that shows gold wheels, and that's what that car of the pictures I saw show gold wheels. So I think that's correct. Gold wheels with silver spinners. Now, they tried to do that here, but they put red spinners, which you'll see later on in the next car. They'll have different color spinners. And then this car did black and silver. Silver and black, right? So they're all different on the wheels, and this is black and silver. Now, I said this was the most detailed car, but you know, they didn't get the wheels right, which really surprised me. The other thing that's a big thing is, yeah, so this one is the Slot.it, so it seems to have the correct wheels and the correct back. It also has red lights, right, up and down. You see the tail lights? And then the other ones all have red and yellow. See, so I have to look at that, but I'm not sure. See? So they're all a little different. They do the numbers different. That's pretty close. Me being a graphic, see, that's a lot different, that number. That's the NSR. Me being a graphic designer, I would get that number exact, probably. And I'm going to put them in order of the way they look and the way they perform. Just trying to, okay, this is the Slot.it, the NSR. I would go with the Fly next. Let me tuck these back down. Scalextric, and the SCX. All right, so these are the 5 cars. I put them down here, and they're in the same exact order for look and performance. So look-wise, you know, very primitive, pretty darn good. Scalextric, but this is Scalextric upping their game after Fly really changed the game, like I said. So SCX, Scalextric, Fly, Slot.it, probably the best representation as far as the way the car was detailed, especially the only guy getting the wheels right. That was surprising. And then last NSR. And then if we go by performance, it's the same exact order, I would say. You know, these two would be pretty close. And these two would be pretty close. But these two would blow away these two cars, you know, probably by a second a lap at least, just right putting them down right now. So that is the 1966 winning LeMans overall winner in 132 scale slot cars. Now, this has been a long video. I showed, you know, a lot of different cars. So what I'm going to do is just put this out on its own because, you know, it's already way too long to add the other cars. And then the next video will be the 67, 68, and 69 winners, which were all GT40s also. All right, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it and learned a little bit and enjoy looking at the cars. I'm really enjoying doing this. So this is good for me to, you know, to showcase what I have. And then if I ever was to get rid of these, I would still have the nice videos and the memories. So I'm enjoying it. I think some of you guys are too. Oh, yeah. One last thing. Special shout out to Robsale. Check out his slot car channel on YouTube. He's a enthusiast of slot cars. I think he's in the UK. And he is very nice. He comes and comments on my channel. And he loves GT40s. So this is a special shout out to Robsale and the GT40s and slot cars. Slot cars are back.